Hi, I'm Zibby Owens, the creator and host of the award-winning podcast that you're listening to right now. Thank you so much, called Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. It is a daily podcast, 365 days a year, and each day we talk to an author about all of the things related to their career, their book, their life, and more in 30 minutes or less, because who has time? I am now an author myself, although I wasn't when I started this podcast, and you can get my new memoir, Bookends, a memoir of love, loss, and literature, wherever books are sold starting July 1st, and my children's book, Princess Charming. You can learn more about me at zibbyowens.com, but really you're here to learn more about the authors, and that is what we're going to do. Also, be sure to check out all the other podcasts in the Zcast Podcast Network. You can learn more at zcastnetwork.com and definitely check out those shows as well. Joanna Margaret is the author of The Bequest. Joanna is an art historian whose previous writing and scholarly work has focused on Florentine aristocrats in 16th century France. She holds a Ph.D. from the University of St. Andrews and an MFA from NYU, where Joyce Carol Oates served as her thesis advisor. You can also listen to Joyce Carol Oates on this podcast. The Bequest is her first novel. Welcome, Joanna. Thank you so much for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books to discuss The Bequest.
Thank you, Zibby. It's so great to be here. Such an honor to be on your podcast.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Can you please tell listeners what your book is about?
Sure. So it's about this young woman, American woman, Isabel Henley, who goes to Scotland to start a PhD in history, and she becomes embroiled in this 450-year-old mystery.
Da, 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 da. I read a bunch of different interviews that you did about the inspiration for this book and from your own PhD in sort of 16th century history and Scotland and all this stuff, but say it better than I can regurgitate it.
Oh, sure. So I have a PhD in 16th century history, and I was doing some research in the Florentine archives and the Archivio di Stato, and I discovered this 16th century woman's coded letter and a key to reading her own code. And it had different letter and number combinations. And there were all these sort of, 656 meant betrayal or treason and all these sort of, very loaded words. So it was really, really cool. And I'd never seen anything like that before, but it sort of led me to wonder what kind of information was out there in these archives that people didn't know about because it was in ciphered letters, and, what kind of information we might glean from historical documents that we don't even know are out there. So that was sort of the original seed for writing this story. And that's where I came up with the idea of this 450-year-old mystery.
Wow.
That was, could be revealed through Isabel's research in the archives. And the mystery that she is dealing with has got eerie repercussions with her present story.
Yes. Interesting. Well, I love that she even went over there with a friend who she can turn to, Rosa, and,
exactly.
Have somebody. And turns out then, of course, this led to the whole plot unfolding. But even the idea of getting to a whole program and having like your advisor not be able to be there because they've just died. I mean, it's so eerie from the beginning, right?
Exactly,
what do you do if something like that happens to you? So
exactly. I wanted to just throw her right in there. And the first thing she discovers is her advisor that she was so excited to work with has died under mysterious circumstances. So just throw her right into the whole maelstrom of deceit and, trying to find out what is behind all these strange goings on in St. Stephen's where she is studying.
Totally creepy. Now, I've actually never been to Scotland, but
oh, you have to go. It's amazing. Yeah.
Never anywhere. Scotland, Ireland, none of those. Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you should go. Yeah. Bring your kids. It's really, it's beautiful. It's, well, if you need recommendations, let me know.
Thank you. Okay.
I lived there for 3 years. So.
Wow. Wait, so how did you get into studying this period of time? I know you went to high school in New York. Let's go back for 2 seconds, then we'll retrace your steps. And I want to figure out how you ended up with Joyce Carol Oates as your advisor and all of that. So, okay, go back to you graduated high school in New York, and then what happened?
I graduated high school in New York. I went to Columbia for undergrad, so stayed in New York and studied. I was a French major with a history minor. And I did study for my junior year abroad in Paris. And that was the first time that I started working in the archives, and the sort of archival bug bit me. And I was very, I knew that I wanted to continue doing, work as an archival historian. So I did my undergraduate thesis on Marie Antoinette's household, and I worked with a professor at the Sorbonne there. So that was, and I did that, in collaboration with one of my Columbia professors. So that was part A. And then I actually went back to grad school, and that's when I studied at St. Andrews and decided I wanted to do a master's in history and a PhD in history.
And
so
was the goal to teach? Like what was
Yeah, teaching and writing, a little combination, and fascination with the period, doing research. And I've worked in Florence a couple of summers doing archival studies there and teaching a little bit there. And so I was always interested in that. And then I wanted to go back and really get into, I've always written, I've always loved books, and I've always been writing stories, and which I'm sure you understand from your own background. So I ended up, applying for MFA programs and got into NYU. And so now I have this entire New York, I've done all the New York school experiences, which has been amazing. And because I always knew I wanted to, experience writing fiction as well as nonfiction. So I ended up doing the MFA program, and my first class was in Joyce Carol Oates' workshop, and yeah, it was just wonderful. I know she's been on the show a couple of times.
She has. Yeah, she has.
So great.
Did you read her latest books?
Yes, I am reading it now.
You read it?
Yeah. Very, very scary. I did.
Weren't you intimidated? I would be so intimidated to start school under like a total master.
Totally. Yes, very, very much. Very much. And, I'd been reading her since like 6th grade. So all of a sudden reading her class, but she was wonderful, and she's really a great teacher. And, I remember talking with someone, and they were like, sometimes they're great writers and sometimes they're great teachers, and they're not necessarily the same. And I feel like she's both. So I was really lucky to take that workshop with her, and was just really felt very, very grateful to have had that experience to work with her and learn from her.
Amazing. And I read that you were targeting 200 or 300 pages, and she told you to make your book like 600 pages?
Yes, exactly. I remember going in, she said, well, how long is this book going to be? And I said, I don't know, maybe like 350 pages. She said, no. That's not, she said, once people sort of get involved with solving mysteries and wanting to know about these characters, she's like, they're going to want a longer book. So I did expand it a lot, and, got sort of more into the intricacies of these mysteries going on.
Wow. So tell me about the writing process of it, and how you brought in all the research, but how you structured the narrative, and how long it took to write. I know it was like 8 years ago or something that you found the codes, like about 8 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was 8 years ago I found the code, and then I started, drafting it, and it's undergone many different versions. So, and different drafts. So it evolved a lot since it was my thesis at NYU. And then eventually, the first version that I wrote, actually, Rose wasn't a character. She was just this sort of spectral figure. And I was doing kind of a Rebecca thing. Like, she was this previous researcher that had studied this Italian family, the Falcone, and then she had disappeared, and we were trying to find out what happened to her, and she sort of appears at the end. So spoiler alert. But then when I rewrote it, I was like, no, I want her to be a character in this. And I thought that, it would give Isabel stronger motivation to sort of find out what happened, solve some of these mysteries if it had to do with her close friend. So that was a big change,
Yes.
bringing her into the narrative. So, I talk about this with Joyce a lot too. You have to like know where you're going to know where you start. So that was a big thing. Like I rewrote the beginning once I had the new ending several times. So that was the last thing I did, actually. So It's sort of interesting to write something in reverse. And then to sort of write something, the projects that I was working on for the MFA, I was doing some short stories, I wrote a novella, and this was different to sort of fit into the confines of a specific genre. And, writing something that's sort of mystery, suspense, thriller, you can't sort of reveal too much information in the beginning or at once. You sort of have to reveal it slowly over time. So that was like a big challenge for me, especially coming from academic writing where, you have your thesis and then you have to prove different points. So it's like totally, I had to start from scratch in terms of my process. Wow. So I think that was a great experience for me. So working on the craft at the same time as, having this very defined structure and specific structure. So that was definitely, a challenge.
Wow. Wait, and tell me, somebody said something about giving you advice to read The Godfather.
Yeah. Actually, that was when I was doing my PhD, and this professor at St. Andrews, Scottish history professor, said, if you want to learn about the 16th century, you should watch the first Godfather film, read the first Godfather book. And
did you?
Yeah. No, and that, this whole like system with clients and sort of, it sort of mimics the court system in the early modern period. So that was definitely educational, but it's true, like, and all the sort of things going on behind the scenes and all these manipulations were very relevant to both the historical world and also the world of fiction. So I wanted those two. I wanted the historical documents and the history that's unfolding in the historical period to be mimicked by what is going on in the contemporary storyline.
This makes me think I got this beautiful copy of an anniversary edition of The Godfather this year. And it's so cool.
Right.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And now I'm wondering where I put it because I really should have included it in this gift guide I just put together. But it's beautiful and it has this great cover. But then when you take the cover off underneath, which I always like to like peek under the flaps, on the front is the horse head, or maybe it was the back. The back on the front. And the other one is like related. I don't know. It's very cool. It's very, very cool.
That's amazing. I want to see that. That's so cool.
I don't even know where I put them. But anyway, yeah. So, and I recently watched, I don't know if you've seen it, there was a whole mini series, I guess, or limited series about the making of The Godfather with the guy who starred in the new Top Gun movie.
Oh, I heard this. It's like the kid.
Yes.
Kid, right?
I'm sorry, my brain is not working today. It was so good.
It's so good, right? I want to watch that.
You have to watch it. It's amazing. And even if you don't like The Godfather, you will still love it because it's just like what it means to be a producer and how hard it was to get that movie made and all these like Hollywood, old school Hollywood moments.
That's so cool. We were just in LA and my husband went to this exhibition, and it was like a exhibition all on the making of The Godfather also. And they have the horse's head exhibited.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw it, but I heard that you're opening a new bookstore in LA. That's so exciting. Congratulations.
I am opening a bookstore in LA. I'm so excited.
Monica, yes. That's amazing.
Yeah.
When is it going to open?
2023. Dates TBD. Depends on the renovations. But we've ordered the flooring and a lot of the other materials. And yeah, I'm very excited.
That's so cool. That's so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes.
I can't wait to visit next time I'm in LA.
I hope it'll be open by February, March. That's
okay. Yeah.
That's my goal. Yeah. It's like been a lifelong dream. So, I mean, like so many book lovers, but,
Absolutely.
and the funny part is like, it's not like it's so hard to buy books. Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't need a bookstore to buy books. There's something else, which I feel like
has never been more obvious to me than since making this announcement. Like we can all go online and buy a book in 2 seconds. It has nothing to do with that. It's much more about the connections and community and like what it means to be inside of a bookstore and surrounded by books, and all of that other stuff is what's much more important and appealing.
You're absolutely right. No, and that's also like, that's why I loved working with Mysterious Press and having this like bricks and mortar like bookstore in downtown Manhattan, which is so amazing. I'm sure you've been. And
I actually have not been. I have
to.
to.
You have to go. We should
know.
go together. Let me know if you're downtown. That would be really fun. And it's just, that's so great. This whole like tradition of editors and writers having, an actual bookstore too. So you must be.
I'll go. We'll have to go and it'll be a competitive analysis, so I can make it feel like a work trip.
Yeah, exactly. Research trip. Absolutely.
Research trip. Yes.
Very important. Yeah. I love that tradition, the sort of press and bookstore combination. It's just amazing. And and let me know when you want to go.
Okay, amazing. They're actually, I don't know, maybe you've already been roped into this, but in April, there's going to be a mystery and crime writers festival / retreat. I think more like a festival in the Hamptons that the town of East Hampton is organizing. And
cool.
Assembling like speakers and all of that. But I feel like you would be perfect.
I would love that. That would be amazing. Yes, totally.
I have to myself a note to put you in touch with the organizer. But that sounded so fun. This isn't really my genre. We don't publish this, and but it just seems like so cool. So
cool. That sounds great.
It's like a trip to a graveyard. And
ooh, okay. Oh, sign me up.
I know. Okay, I will do that. What kind of books do you like to read?
I am I'm omnivorous as a reader and just everything. I mean, any genre. I mean, for the MFA, obviously focused on a lot of literary fiction and before that, a lot of long history books written by French academics. And now I am reading some books written by some of my colleagues. So other Mysterious Press and Scarlet writers. So Jamie Lynn Hendricks, Debbie Babbitt, Mandy McHugh all have books that came out this past year. So I'm reading all of their books, which are great. And like I said, Joyce's latest Babysitter.
Yes.
So I've been doing a deep dive into that. And, as I prepare my next book, I sort of like to stick with the specific genre that I'm writing in. So for reading as well. So sort of keeping it in the mystery, thriller, suspense world for now.
What is your next book?
So I'm doing another sort of dark academia that is taking shape now, but it's set in the States, not in Europe this time. So that's but again, sort of this historical element that resonates with the present contemporary storyline.
I feel like you should do something with Trinity Church downtown.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love that place.
Right? It feels very spooky. Like, what are the stories there? Lots of ghosts lurking.
Yes, it is. There is something very spooky about it. You always you walk down, any random street in New York and we forget there's so much history, so many interesting things. I mean, I've lived here my whole life and I'm sure you feel like this too. And I still discover stuff like that, just all of a sudden, some corner of New York that has all this history that I don't even know about. So it's a constant process of discovery. Which is nice. My husband's Danish, and sometimes he'll be like, "Oh, I just took this long walk and I found this new cemetery that I didn't even know about in New York." And I'm like, "Wait, what cemetery?" And that's amazing. Also, having that, sort of seeing New York through a non-native New Yorker's eyes.
Yeah, my in-laws, my husband's dad and his wife, Miriam, she's from Holland, and they're doing the same thing. They're going to all these cool places and discovering with fresh eyes, and just so excited. And they keep telling me about all these societies and buildings, and I'm like, really? Here I am, just stuck in my neighborhood. But yeah,
isn't that so cool though? Right? Yeah, and you I mean, you're also a New Yorker and getting to all of a sudden discover all these new things.
I know. It's true.
Refreshing.
It is refreshing. Okay. Well, Joanna, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on to discuss, to the Bequest. I feel like I'm holding up my hands underneath the hands holding a book.
Thank you so much, Zibby. This is such an honor to be on your show and so nice to finally meet you.
You too. And I'm so glad to know you're in New York. So when I have more events and bring all that back, I'd love to get together and all that.
That would be great. That would be really, really nice.
Where is the bookstore we were talking about going?
It is in Tribeca.
Okay.
I'll send you.
Okay, Tribeca. That's all I need to know. Okay, let me think about when I can get down there. And
let's do it. This is great. All right, we'll do a little research trip together.
Okay.
Sounds amazing.
All right.
Thank you so much,
Thanks
Zibby.
a lot. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens and at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Also sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com and sign up for my virtual book club and meet lots of authors on Zoom every other week. Thanks so much to Steve and Ryan at Texture Sound for the sound editing. And thank you to Morning Moon Productions for providing this fantastic intro and outro music.